Before beginning your conversion, there are a couple of things you can do that will make the installation more efficient. Firstly, remove your handlebar controls, such as your brakes, shifters, and grips. Remove your front wheel and install your existing tube, tyre, and rim tap onto the new electric wheel. The first step in any conversion is installing the wheel. The easiest way to take off your front wheel is to turn your bike upside down so that your bike rests on the handlebars and the seat. For disc brake users, it's much easier to fit the motor wheel with the caliper removed. The disc brake rotor installs onto the side of the motor hub, just like a regular hub. But you will need to use the existing bolts that are already installed into the side of the hub. Simply loosen them, install your disc rotor, and then tighten the bolts as shown to a maximum of 40 pounds tightening torque. If you over tighten these bolts, you may risk stripping the hub, which is not covered by warranty. The only other thing you may need to trial is the use of the white plastic disc brake spacer that each hub comes with. This is rarely needed as your rotor should line up with your caliper quite closely. However, it's sometimes needed to achieve the required offset. You will need to loosen the axle nuts on your new electric wheel. This will allow the axle to slot into your dropouts. The distance between your dropouts should be approximately 100 millimeters. Your forks can stretch in and out a certain amount without causing any structural issues. The dropout axle slot should be approximately 10 millimeters. However, you may need to file off a thin layer of paint for the axle to slot in all the way. The axles are designed to be very tight fit, so don't stress if you need to remove a small amount of material. This is normal. The cable that exists the hub should sit on the right side of your bike when sitting on your bike. Otherwise, you're going to go backwards. With your bike upside down, your wheel should be pushed all the way down into the dropouts to make sure it's a nice and tight fit. One torque washer should be fitted against the hub on the side of the forks, and then one flat washer on the outside. With these in place, you can then tighten the axle nuts using a spanner or adjustable wrench. Make sure you have the right size to protect the nuts from being stripped. Tighten to approximately 250 to 350 pounds in torque. There is a torque arm available for the kit that is sold separately, but we will not be installing it on this setup today. The battery installation starts with mounting the battery cradle. This is what your battery will attach to, and it's also where the controller is housed. The most common way to install the battery is by using the drink holder mounts on your frame. Simply remove your drink bottle holder if you have one, and you're ready to install the battery cradle. You will be able to tell where your cradle will fit best by simply holding the cradle up against your frame. You will have a few different height options. However, keep in mind, you need room above the cradle to maneuver the battery in and out. You can secure the cradle by using your existing bolts and screws to tighten. Be careful not to over tighten your bolts and screws, as drink bottle mounts and threads are only nutserts. If installed correctly, the battery and cradle should feel very secure and not bounce over bumps. If drink bottle mounts aren't an option, there are plenty of attachment options on the manual. The cradle should always be secure and rigid to avoid any vibrations or movement of the battery. With the motor, battery, and cradle mounted, it's time to move on to the easy part. Firstly, remove the packaging from the display, thumb throttle, and e-brake sensor kit. Your handlebars should be just about bare, ready to accept your new controls. The first step in installing the display involves attaching the brackets. The display attaches to your handlebars using a dual clamp bracket. This will arrive in two pieces and will be screwed together using the provided fasteners. Not all handlebars are the same diameter, so there are a couple of different size rubber bushes provided. Once you have the bracket connected to the display screen, you can mount it on your handlebars using the provided bolts and captive nuts, which face upwards toward the rider. The angle of the display can depend on the rider style or the shape of the handlebars. Be careful not to over tighten these fasteners as they are secured like plastic. Once you have the display mounted, you can fit the satellite keypad, thumb controls. This is a small module with 3 buttons to control the display: up, down, and mode, on and off. You can download the manual for this separately. Next, slide the thumb throttle onto your handlebars, usually on the right side. However, it is up to personal preference which side the throttle goes on. Move the throttle to the inside of the handlebars and tighten it in place so it butts up against the throttle. Once you have the throttle secured, make sure the cable is not fouling the brake lever, otherwise readjust. Before sliding the grip handle onto the handlebars, make sure you insert a small plastic bush. This prevents the grip from rubbing against the throttle. At this point, your handlebar installation is completed and you should have everything in a comfortable position. Please note, for users in states and territories that require no hand throttle to be used, you can pass this step and leave the throttle absent. please move on to the RPAS installation process. For this installation, we will not be installing the e-brake sensor or pedal assist sensor. The wiring now has to be connected up so that everything has power and can function correctly. All the wires are color-coded, so it is simply a matter of connecting the same colored wire ends together. The first wire to connect is the main wire connecting the front wheel to the controller. This wire has 9 pins on the end of it. At the end of the wires are arrows. Align the arrows and then insert the pins. Now connect the wiring loom to the controller. These wires are color-coded with a black end plug. The yellow plug from the wiring loom goes to the throttle. The 2 red plugs from the wiring loom go for the e-brake sensors if you are installing the e-brake system. Lastly, the green plug from the wiring loom joins with the wire coming from the display monitor. In the final stage of the installation, it's time to tidy up the wires and make everything look nice and neat. The battery used in this conversion kit is very sleek in design and also very functional. The way it attaches to the cradle, which also houses the controller, is by sliding the battery down onto the cradle and locking it into place. This may take a couple of attempts getting it right, however once in place it makes a very secure fitting that won't rattle around during use. With the battery mounted to the cradle, you can now use the key to lock the battery in place. The key is only used for the locking function. It doesn't turn the battery on or off. In fact, when riding, it's best to remove the key and store it safely to avoid hitting it with your knees or worse, losing it. Take one of the keys off the keychain before you finish and store it in a safe place. These keys are coded, so if you lose both, you will have to ship your battery back to Dillenger to have the barrel replaced. Not ideal. This battery comes with a USB port, which can be used to charge your mobile phone or anything else similar. The battery should never be ridden without being locked into the cradle. It should also never be dropped or treated roughly. If your battery is returned to Dillenger and has signs of being dropped, this will void the warranty. Plug the charger into the wall socket, just like a laptop or mobile phone charger. Check that one of the charger indicator lights glows green. Plug the charger into the battery carefully, making sure it's all the way in. Don't force it if there's an obstruction. The charger indicator lights should glow red whilst charging. Once the charger indicator lights change from one red and one green, the battery is fully charged. There is no way to overcharge the battery. When it is full, the charger will stop charging the battery automatically. Charging time can vary from 1 to 5 hours if fully empty. The battery should be charged once every month as a minimum to maintain healthy cells. The best way to charge your battery is to plug it in after every use and leave it on charge until the indicator lights show that the battery is fully charged. It is not good practice to only half or partially charge the battery. It is important to maintain your e-bike. Regularly check your spoke tension. And remember to keep your bike clean. There's nothing worse than having to work on a dirty bike. Also keep in mind the usual bike maintenance like tire pressures, brake pads, etc. The motor in this kit is a sealed unit and requires no maintenance during its design life. Lastly, just to reiterate, it's important that you charge the battery at least once every month to ensure the battery maintains at a safe storage level. We hope you've enjoyed this conversion video. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact the team at Dillenger. Now get out there and have fun on your newly converted electric bike by Dillenger.